Rome and Persia, two of the most impactful civilizations of the ancient world. Two civilizations who, for nearly 700 years, fought an endless series of wars over pretty much the exact same territory. For centuries, the borders barely changed, and neither did the seeming inevitability that Rome and Persia would fight another war. Eventually, this endless fighting would prove to be the undoing of both civilizations, as the last conflict between the Eastern Roman Empire and the Persian Sassanid Empire was so long, so brutal, and so costly that the newly united Arab tribes, under the banner of the Caliphate, were able to overwhelm and conquer vast swaths of the Roman Empire and the entirety of the Sassanid Empire. But what if this didn't happen? What if instead of continuing to kill each other nonstop for no gain, as they had done for the past 700 years, the Romans and Persians united? Side note, the term Persia was invented by Greeks since they often referred to places by their capital city, in this case being Fars or Pars, leading to the term Persia. The people of that region, even in ancient times, called their civilization Iran and not Persia, so we'll use that more accurate term from now on. Rome and Iran uniting is not as far-fetched a possibility as it sounds, so let me explain the history and how it could have happened. In the year 590, the Shah Hormizd of the Iranian Empire, which historians now call the Sassanid Empire due to its rule by the House of Sassan, was overthrown by Bahram Chobin, a Persian general who was a member of the House of Miran, which claimed descent from the Arsacid dynasty, which had ruled Iran before the House of Sassan, a time in which Iran was commonly known by historians as the Parthian Empire. The deposed Shah Hormizd's son, named Khosrau, fled to the Roman Empire after briefly fighting and losing to Bahram Chobin, who proclaimed the restoration of the Arsacid dynasty. Khosrau lobbied Roman Emperor Maurice for military support to reclaim the throne of Iran and restore the House of Sassan. To win the Roman Emperor's support, Khosrau offered a formal alliance between the Roman Empire and the Iranian Empire, sealed by his marriage to Maurice's daughter Maria, along with significant territorial concessions in disputed regions, such as Armenia and northern Mesopotamia. He also pledged to align Iranian military forces with Roman campaigns against common enemies, creating a mutual defense pact that would strengthen both empires. In addition, Khosrau promised to respect Christian communities within his domains and grant them greater autonomy, appealing to Maurice's role as a protector of Christianity. Finally, Khosrau agreed to lift the regular payments of tribute the Romans had been paying to the Sassanid Empire. In return for all of this, Maurice provided Khosrau with a well-trained and experienced Roman army, commanded by the veteran Roman general Narses. This Roman army joined up with Iranians who remained loyal to the House of Sassan, who rallied forces to Khosrau's cause. This joint Roman-Iranian army then invaded the Persian Empire and defeated Bahram Chobin, restoring Khosrau and the House of Sassan to the Iranian throne. Khosrau honored his agreements with Maurice and reportedly developed an intense affection for the Roman emperor, whom he referred to as his father in letters and official proclamations, highlighting the bond between the two men. Khosrau even reportedly named one of his sons after Maurice, and commemorated the alliance by adopting elements of Roman court culture into his own, further intertwining the destinies of the two empires. This period of unprecedented cooperation brought temporary stability to the region, and foreshadowed a world where Rome and Iran could benefit if they chose collaboration over conflict. However, this alliance would ultimately unravel with the assassination of Maurice, after the Roman emperor implemented strict cost-saving measures, including cuts to military pay and orders for his soldiers to endure harsh winter conditions beyond the Danube River. These unpopular policies triggered a mutiny within the army, culminating in a revolt led by the officer Phocas, who overthrew and executed Maurice. The mutiny and Maurice's assassination plunged the Roman Empire into chaos, destabilizing the fragile peace between Rome and Iran. Khosrau II, enraged by the death of his benefactor and father-in-law, seized the opportunity to declare war on the Eastern Roman Empire, claiming his goal was to avenge Maurice's murder and install Maurice's son, Theodosius, as Roman emperor. This sparked the catastrophic Last Roman-Sassanid War from 602 to 628 CE, a conflict so protracted and devastating that it left both empires exhausted and vulnerable to the emerging Arab Caliphate, which had rapidly conquered the entirety of the Sassanid Empire and most of the Roman Empire by the year 651 CE. By that time, the once mighty Sassanid Empire had completely collapsed under the weight of internal dissent and the relentless Arab conquests, while the Roman Empire lost its control over much of the Levant, Egypt, and North Africa. The long and costly war between Rome and Iran, combined with their inability to recover swiftly, ensured that neither empire could withstand the Arab armies, forever changing the balance of power in the Middle East and Mediterranean. Now, it's fairly easy in my opinion to imagine how this all could have gone down differently, and how the period of Roman and Iranian cooperation during the time of Maurice and Khosrau could have led to a history-making dynastic alliance. Let's imagine that in this alternate timeline, that Maurice is never overthrown, as Khosrau provides Maurice with the financial support needed to keep up the high salaries of the Roman soldiers. A series of very specific but plausible events have to occur in order for the Sassanid and Roman empires to then unify. Khosrau and his Roman wife Maria have a son who Khosrau designates as his primary heir. We'll call him Maricanius, named after Maurice. Maurice's son Theodosius becomes the next Roman emperor after Maurice peacefully passes away in the early 7th century. Theodosius marries a daughter of Khosrau. Theodosius has no sons of his own, but a few daughters, who he arranges to marry Maricanius, making Maricanius the effective heir of both the Sassanid and Roman empires. Between the years of 600 and 620, Maricanius becomes a key figure in both empires, gaining experience in governance and military strategy throughout both Rome and Iran. As a young man, Maricanius was sent by Khosrau to live in Constantinople with the Roman court, before returning to the Iranian imperial court as a teenager. This allows Maricanius to develop a deep understanding of both Roman and Iranian politics, culture, religion, and traditions. Maricanius is formally recognized as a co-ruler in Iran, holding the title of Shahanshah, while also being elevated to Caesar in the Roman Empire, securing his position as heir to both empires. Throughout the 620s, Maricanius works to combine the institutions of both states. He raises several large armies composed of both Roman and Iranian soldiers and officers, and exchanges Iranian and Roman garrisons at various towns, forts, and cities along the border, effectively unifying the armies of both states into one entity. He also holds a united imperial court, hosting both Roman and Iranian notables at the central city of Antioch, which he makes his base of operations while heir. So, now let's say that by around 630 AD, both Theodosius and Khosrau pass away, now leaving Maricanius as the uncontested ruler of a united Roman-Iranian superstate. He consolidates administrative systems, blending Roman bureaucratic efficiency with the decentralized satrapy system of Iran, and creates a council of advisors representing both Roman and Iranian nobles. Religious tolerance becomes a cornerstone of his rule, with Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and other faiths coexisting under his protection. Now, we are looking at a vastly different historical timeline. The united and economically prosperous Roman-Iranian Empire would never succumb to Arab invasions in this timeline, stemming the rapid rise of Islam. The sheer size and military power of the empire means that by the mid-7th century, the Roman Iranians would certainly initiate a coordinated military campaign to subdue the Arabian Peninsula once and for all. Much like how the Greeks emerged as a dominant political and military mercenary force in the ancient Persian Empire, even before the conquest of Alexander the Great, I think that many Arabs would in time attain a great deal of influence in the Roman-Iranian court, especially in military matters. Combined Arab-Iranian-Roman armies would lead the empire's conquests across North Africa, and over the course of a few centuries, even attain control over the trans-Saharan trade routes. In this timeline, Islam would definitely still exist as a powerful and influential religion in the Middle East, but I highly doubt it would displace Zoroastrianism in Iran or Christianity in Egypt and the Levant as much as it did in real life over the course of the next few centuries, without the military, political, and economic supremacy of the Caliphates. But I still think Islam will gain a number of followers throughout the Middle East, emulating previous Middle Eastern religions that rose to prominence and crossed borders without a state-backed sponsor, such as Manichaeism, or even Christianity before Constantine. In some towns and cities, Islam could even become the majority, though it still mostly exists as the third largest religion in the empire, behind Christianity and Zoroastrianism. Whether the Roman-Iranian Empire decides to suppress Islam, like how the Romans suppressed Manichaeism, is hard to say, but I would say they won't, largely because this superstate will not survive long if it's not religiously and culturally tolerant. The Roman-Iranian Empire, sheer strength and enormity, would likely allow them to reconsolidate control over Italy, especially the city of Rome itself. A direct connection between Rome and the Roman Emperor means that the Roman Emperor would retain control over Christianity, and the Pope would not rise to prominence as an independent religious and political authority, as he would not be isolated from the Roman government. This means that Catholicism never develops. Without a Pope that can operate independently of the Roman Emperor, this also means the Pope cannot crown any man as Roman Emperor, and the Holy Roman Empire never forms. The absence of conquest by the Caliphate also means that states such as the Visigothic kingdom survive for much longer. However, the Visigoths would still be weak, and a potential threat to Roman-Iranian control in the western Mediterranean. It's definitely likely that in a period of Visigothic instability or civil war, the Roman Iranians invade the Iberian Peninsula, overwhelming the Visigoths, and reincorporating Iberia into the Roman-Iranian Empire. This would cement the Roman-Iranian Empire's control over the Western Mediterranean. Roman-Iranian domination over the Mediterranean in this timeline means a likely return to the economic and trading network that was prominent in the region during the height of the Roman Empire, in which agriculturally rich provinces such as Egypt and Africa feed the rest of the empire by supplying grain to other regions. A new economic golden age in the region would ensue. This, in turn, will facilitate a cultural, literary, and scientific Roman-Iranian golden age. The rulers of this united Roman-Iranian Empire would have to delicately balance Zoroastrianism and Christianity, and the political attempts at balancing the two religions, assuming of course they don't tear the empire in half, could lead to a new syncretic Christian Zoroastrian religion sponsored by the imperial court. This syncretic Christian Zoroastrian religion would mostly just be popular among the ruling class and the elites of the Roman-Iranian Empire. Meanwhile, among the broader population, traditional forms of Christianity and Zoroastrianism would remain dominant, with regional variations appearing due to the empire's sheer size and cultural diversity. This syncretic Roman-Iranian religious system would face periodic challenges. Traditionalists in both the Christian and Zoroastrian communities might resist what they viewed as imperial overreach in the sacred matters. However, the imperial court would likely enforce policies of tolerance, understanding that outright suppression could destabilize the empire's fragile unity. Now, such a superstate is clearly emulating the real-life caliphate of our world, except with the obvious addition of the Roman Empire, and being of a Christian Zoroastrian government rather than an Islamic one. Without any serious power in Eastern Europe to challenge the empire's expansion, vast swaths of Europe, such as the Black Sea region, could fall under the Roman-Iranian Empire's control. Expansion in the West, if it were attempted, would be stopped by the Franks, much like how the Franks stopped the Caliphate's expansion. Of course, it is difficult for such a superstate to endure forever, and even with the greatest possible rulers, it is hard to see how an empire larger than even the Caliphate could last longer than the Caliphate, especially considering how there's no way that the syncretic Christian Zoroastrian religion would be nearly as influential among the ruling class as Islam was in the Caliphate. There would be intense sectarianism, and given enough time, eventually a ruler would come about who could not balance it all, and civil wars would ensue that would see the breakup of the Roman-Iranian Empire into various smaller states. However, the impact of the Roman-Iranian Empire's existence would still be profound. Islam would still be a major religion, but not the dominant force in the Middle East, Mediterranean, and India that it was in real life. Catholicism would not exist, as all Christian bishops would remain loyal to the Roman emperor for centuries longer than in real life. Zoroastrianism would continue to persist as a major religion, and the dominant one in Iran. Even after the empire's eventual breakup, successor states would inherit its legacy, and they would continue to draw on its administrative and economic structures.